Hi there, and welcome to this video, which is all about giving you the foundations of Pilates just to help set you up for success. There are a couple of things just to say to you before we start. The first thing is that nothing should ever be painful. So please, if something doesn't feel right, don't do it, okay? There should be no pain. It is definitely not a case of no pain, no gain. You will gain without the pain. Pilates is a gentle form of exercise, yet very powerful. Through commitment, through continually working at it just a little bit every day, you will really start to see the rewards of it. Okay. And the other thing is just to remember that it doesn't matter where you are right now. Pilates will meet you wherever you are. So it doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter your ability. What you will find that the more you practice Pilates, the more light bulb moments you will have, the more you'll go, now I get it. And it's just really quite an exciting journey to be on. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I love it. And I hope you really start to reap the rewards of your commitment to doing Pilates, where hopefully you will find that you become stronger, you have more energy, that you feel less stressed about life. There are so many wonderful attributes to Pilates. You will have more mobility, more flexibility. And hopefully it's just a beautiful way to exercise that you will find enjoyable as well. The other beautiful thing about it is you can do it anywhere. All you need is a mat or a carpeted floor, a rug, something like that. And I would suggest possibly having a towel just with you. We might use that under the head, we might use it under the hips, just for a bit of comfort. And really nothing more than that. So without further ado, we're going to bring ourselves onto our mat and get started. Let's get started then. You will notice I've got a towel here, and that's just to support my head. I find that quite comfortable, you might not. But let's bring ourselves down onto the mat and I'll explain to you why. So when we're lying on the mat, we want to make sure that we're not looking behind us. We don't want the neck arched, and we don't actually want to be looking straight up at the ceiling. We want to have the eyes almost looking at the corner of your room. So from here, then we're going to make sure that we've got our feet and our knees hip distance apart. Now, hip distance is about the width of your fist apart. And we want to have something called neutral spine. Now, neutral spine is where the pelvis is lying flat. And it's actually the spine that most of us were born with. And just through habit and sitting in chairs or whatever it is we're doing all day, the spine starts to, or the pelvis starts to go into a different position. It might be tilted back, it might be tilted forwards. So we're looking for neutral spine, which, as I say, the pelvis is lying flat. We're just going to play with that a little bit. So I want you now to imagine that you have a marble sitting in your tummy button. And if you can, relax your bottom, your glute muscles, relax them down, keep the legs relaxed. And I want you to roll your imaginary marble up to your rib cage and then back to your tummy button. So as you're doing this, you should feel movement in your lower back, in your lumbar spine. So we're going from the tummy button up to the rib cage. When your marble is at the rib cage, your lower back should be on the mat. We call that imprinted. And then when you roll it back into your tummy button, your pelvis should be lying flat. So let's do that a couple more times. And then let's just see if we can keep that marble sitting in the tummy button. You might want to just have a look at your pelvis, just make sure it is lying flat, the hip bones are level. So if you placed a bowl of water on your pelvis, it shouldn't be spilling, okay? So if it was a very full bowl of water, it should stay full. So we're going to keep our spine in neutral. So with most people, you'll find that you've just got a little gap between your lower back and the mat, so room for about a blueberry that you're not going to crush there. So we want to maintain that position. What we do not want to be doing is having the back arched off, so we don't want to be getting the whole hand underneath, and that's really important. What's happening then is your abdominal muscles are lengthening. and it's putting strain through the spine. So we want to keep those abdominal muscles shortened. So let's just work on that a little bit more. I want you to take your hands and just place them on the rib cage. And I want you to inhale, and as you inhale, feel your fingertips pull apart as the ribs expand. And then as you exhale, I want you to feel your ribs closing down and your fingertips sort of pulling together, meeting together. Let's go again. Inhale and exhale. So inhale and exhale. Now we're going to inhale through the nose. And as we exhale, I want you to imagine that you're blowing air through a straw, through the mouth. Okay, again, inhale and exhale. Now, every time you exhale, you're squeezing all the air out of the lungs. And what you should start to notice is it's the abdominal muscles that are starting to draw the rib cage down to squeeze that air out. And in Pilates, we want to try and keep these ribs softened down, which means we need to breathe laterally. We need to breathe into the back and the sides of the rib cage rather than the front of the rib cage. And this takes a little bit of practice. So keep coming back to this video, keep coming back to practicing this, and don't worry if it doesn't happen for you overnight, it probably won't. So we're going to inhale and see if we can keep the rib cage closed down at the front. So we're expanding the ribs into the mat and towards our arms. And as we exhale, just really squeeze all that air out. Let's go again. Inhale. We're breathing into the back and sides of the rib cage, and exhale. Squeeze that air out. Now I'd like you to stay with one hand resting on your rib cage just to remind you about trying to keep those ribs softened down. You're going to take the other hand and place it on your tummy button. So this time we're inhaling, filling up the back and sides of the rib cage. As we exhale, I want you to really pull your tummy button away from your hand. Feel as if there's a string on the underside of your tummy button being pulled down towards the mat. Okay, so again, inhale and exhale. Really pull that tummy button back. Can you feel those abdominal muscles really starting to activate here? Let's go again. Now, the thing to remember is that the more you use these muscles, the stronger they're going to get. So to begin with, it might be quite a struggle even trying to find them. But the more you focus on trying to engage them, the more you will be able to do it, and the stronger they will start to become. So now we've got the rib cage softened down, and we're going to try and keep the tummy drawn back towards the spine because we're going to breathe into the back and sides of the rib cage. And what I want you to do now is, as you exhale, is feel that you are just pulling your pubic bone up towards your tummy button, a little slide up. Now, we're going to keep this pelvis lying flat, so you might feel like your tailbone is gently sliding down the mat. And I want you to feel that pull up of the pelvic floor. So just think about pulling the pubic bone up to your tummy button. It's almost like a little zipping up, or if you imagine a little elevator going up to your tummy button. And I want you to start to feel these abdominal muscles engage in the pelvis. So let's go again. Inhale and exhale. So the ribs are down, tummy drawn to spine, and we're feeling that little pull on the pelvic floor, drawing the pubic bone up to the tummy button. Remember, that tailbone is slid down the mat. So we want to start to feel like we've got a little bit of a connection between the hip bones and the rib cage. What we don't want is the back arching. Remember, we're keeping that spine in neutral and these abdominal muscles nicely shortened. So there's another thing I want you to do now. So let's just refresh that. So inhale into the back and sides of the ribs, and exhale. We're softening the rib cage down, tummy to spine, pulling the pubic bone up to the tummy button. And now I want you to imagine that you are sliding your hip bones together. They obviously don't move, but what's happening, if you can imagine that you're sliding them together, the muscles contracting will contract in between those hip bones, your deep transverse abdominis muscles. So you are now starting to engage your deep core muscles. Now, when we're doing our Pilates movements, these are the ones that we want to stay activated. These are really important muscles. They're big wraparound muscles. So if at any point you feel them just going, like you've lost that connection, just take a moment to regroup, okay? Remember, you're going to work this at your own pace. There's no race. So let's go again. So we're going to keep the ribs softened down. We're going to keep the tummy button drawn back towards the spine. The tailbone gently lengthened down the mat, feeling that hip to rib connection. So imagine you've got elastic bands that hold them together. We're going to pull the pubic bone up to the tummy button and then feel like we're sliding those hip bones together. And what you're hopefully feeling is that whole front of the torso is beautifully contracted, okay? From here, let's just take it a little stage further. So what I want you to do now is focus on keeping this beautiful connection, and we're going to float one leg up into what we call tabletop. Tabletop is with the knee sitting over the hip. We're then going to float that leg back down, but I want you to be aware of what's happening through your torso. So I only want you to float the other leg up once you've felt that your hips have not moved and the ribs have stayed softened down and your back hasn't arched. So we're keeping the torso beautifully switched on, and let's float the other leg up into tabletop. It's a lot harder than it looks, isn't it? So let's float it back down again. Don't put too much weight through that foot to start with, and just see if you can transfer to the other leg without allowing your hips to move or your back to arch. So these are what we call knee floats, okay? So we're keeping the spine in neutral, we're keeping the pelvis flat, and we're keeping the rib cage softened down, okay? So the focus is not really on the legs at all. The focus is on your trunk, okay? Keeping the ribs softened down and keeping the spine in neutral. What I also want you to be aware of is that you're not tensing your shoulders. So we're going to make sure that the shoulders are open. So opening up the collarbone here. We want to make sure we haven't got the shoulders up by the ears. We lengthen the fingertips down the mat. Now, a lot of people struggle to keep the shoulders down without the ribs lifting. So again, it's practice, keeping the ribs down and the shoulders open. So you're pressing the back of the arms and the shoulder blades down. Okay, let's just try another little move. So we're going to do something called a heels slide. We're keeping that pelvis flat, and we're going to inhale and lengthen that leg away. Make sure the back hasn't arched. Flex the foot, exhale, and draw it back again. Let's do the other leg. So we're going to inhale, taking it out, flex the foot, exhale, and draw it back again. Again, working on that pelvic stability here. Fantastic. So let's just have a little hug in of those knees. Just relax those shoulders down. Fantastic. And then we'll place the feet down and just roll onto our sides and bring ourselves up. So just a couple of little things to remember there. One, about the breathing. Two, about engaging those core muscles. Now, as well as your abdominal muscles, and there are obviously lots of different layers, you've also got other core muscles. So your core muscles also refers to your back muscles and your glute muscles, your bottom. So we will be doing exercises over the next 5 days that work all these different areas. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Come back, revisit this video whenever you need to. Remember that it does take time. You're not expected to understand everything straight away. It takes time, and that's part of the beauty of this journey. So I look forward to seeing you for day 1.